Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the Sikh Youth Show, each and every Wednesday at 9 p.m. We've got a great show for you today, providing you some facts and stats about this historic grooming case that happened in the Yorkshire region of Huddersfield. But before we go on to tell you what's been happening and some information that's been related and brought back to us as an organ, how much research we've been doing into this, we just want to show you a short video from one of our guys that who lives in Huddersfield, who was on the ground, who understood what this, one of the perpetrators of this gang. Now, his name was Amir Dhaliwal, and it has been emphasised that he was some sort of kingpin, apparently. Now, one of our brothers has kindly come forward and highlighted to us some key factors about this perpetrator, who is currently behind bars. He has been behind bars for the last 6 months, and he has obviously been convicted. He's been convicted of a life sentence with a minimum recommendation of 18 years. Now, we want you to just have a look at this video and see some of his behaviour patterns and his character. As you're aware, today in the national news and media, you've seen a horrific case of a grooming gang and its ringleader, which has saddened us as a community because they've shown the star and linked it to this hideous crime. Now, Baji is from Huddersfield, where this gang have been convicted from. Baji's come all the way down just so we can speak to you about this image that's been tarnished with this hideous crime and this guy who's a ringleader, Amir Dhaliwal. Now, Baji, when was your first encounter with Amir Dhaliwal?
The first time I seen him was maybe about 17 years ago. Was at college. We were all studying at college, motor mechanic, and I'd seen him there. At the time, you know, I didn't know whether he was Sikh or Muslim or whatever. I couldn't tell what he was. He never used to wear a kara or anything like that. You know, that's the first time I ever saw him. He never used to hang about with any of our Sikh lads in the community. Okay. You know, the lads that we used to hang about with at college. Basically, he used to hang about with lads that were 10, 15 years older than me, which are taxi drivers, you know, and they're one of the Sikh community taxi drivers.
So he wasn't within he wasn't within the sangat of the community of the Sikh community in Huddersfield.
Nothing. Oh no.
No. Okay. And as you can see, sangat's really important. We always talk about this all the time. Now, if we go on to when this investigation was started by the authorities in 2012. Have you had any encounters or seen this person around since then?
I mean, after college, you know, he left college, and I think as far as I was aware, you know, he's got a job in a garage. He left from there. I do remember seeing him passing through, you know, a certain area where, you know, where I used to have a takeaway. He used to pass through in a nice car with these young girls in the car. Well, I don't know how young they were or whatever. I just remember seeing females in the car.
Yeah.
But after that, I hadn't seen him until 2012.
Okay.
I saw him in 2012, and you know, I was shocked by his image. I didn't, you know.
Okay, so in 2012, when this investigation started, you know, you're saying his image changed.
His image changed. You know, he wasn't the skinny little lad that I'd seen in, you know, 2000, 2003, 2004. Okay. You know, he wasn't the skinny image. He'd grown a beard. He's got a bag. You know, and he had a cut on. I was shocked at, you know, how has he become this? How has this image come from this person?
Okay, and so Salsangji, as you can see what Baji just said. So from 2003, 2004 was your first encounters when you've met this or you spoke to this person for the first time. From 2004 to 2011, these crimes were committed. When the investigation starts, there's a drastic change in this character. Yeah, so, you know, let's analyse and have a look at what's going on within this image that's being tarnished today. You know, and we're saddened as a community and as an organisation. We condemn any actions from these perpetrators, whoever they are, from whatever background. You know, it's ridiculous, but, you know, we wanted to just give you an overlook of what's happened over these years and who this Amir Dhaliwal is. So we want to thank you for coming. We appreciate your time and coming to let the South know the importance and how we feel as a community regarding this hideous crime. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to the Sikh Youth Show. Now, as you can see, and you've heard it from people who were on the ground at the time of when these crimes were committed, you've seen some of this behaviour and some of this character. Now, Kabir's obviously one of the Sikh Youth Sevadars. Kabir, talking about this historic case, historical grooming, which has been coming out over the recent past few years. We've had cases such as Rotherham, Rochdale, Oxford, some horrific abuser cases. But Yorkshire has, for the first time, is one of the first times in Yorkshire that it has been in the public domain so much. And I just wanted you to give some feedback and some of the work that you've been doing some research on, and you can relay that back to the Sangata.
Yeah, there's been a lot of Sikh hate recently, Kip, about, all emphasised on Amir Dhaliwal. And I feel there's a lot of misconceptions, but the video was, that video that you just showed there was fantastic because it cleared out the misconceptions. I just want to go back to this case as well.
Go on.
90%, there was 20 convictions in this case.
So far, that is.
So far.
There is more to be convicted.
Absolutely, there is more to be convicted. But out of the 20 convicted, Sangaji, 90% of the men convicted were of Pakistani origin.
Okay.
So I know there's been a lot of emphasis on Amir, but I just want to go through the list of names, to be honest, as well.
Go on.
So the first one, Irfan Ahmed, of 34 years old, Zahid Hassan, 29, Mohammed Kama, 34, Mohammed Rizwan Aslam, 31 years old, Abdul Rahman, 31 years old, Naman Mohammed, 32 years old, Mansoor Akhtar, 27 years old, Wikas Mahmood, 38 years old, Nasrat Hussain, 30 years old, Sajid Hussain, 33 years old, Mohammed Ifraz, 30 years old, Faisal Nadeem, 32 years old, Mohammed Azim, 33 years old, Manzoor Hassan, 38 years old, Nayaz Ahmed, 54 years old, Mohammed Imran Ibra, 34 years old, Asif Bashir, 33 years old, Mohammed Akram, 33 years old. And out of the non-Pakistani origin, there was two, Amir Dhaliwal and Raj Basran. But in this case, even though non-Muslims are involved, it just shows the manipulation.
Baji, I want to emphasise that as an organisation, Sikh Youth, and as a Sikh channel presenter, and as working in the Sikh community, we condemn any perpetrators.
Absolutely.
Any. But when it comes to organised, systematic and gang-related, you're saying that as an org, it's always been the case that perpetrators from the Pakistani community are always in the majority of this, and always have been. And this is historical. This is why it's an historical grooming case.
Absolutely, and I think there have been previous cases as well where the ethnic minority in the grooming gangs has been from other communities, but the vast majority has always been from the Pakistani.
I remember the Newcastle case. There was white females involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So
there's always some sort of non-Pakistani men involved in the orchestration and the gang. Why do you think that is?
I think predominantly the reason is it's because they put different people there as the front of it. Okay. So with the white females, they'll put them there to befriend the vulnerable young girls, to be a friendly face, and then friends lure them into the negative sangat.
Okay, we've got a caller waiting, and who's really keen to speak, so I've just had the message come up on the screen. Hello, Baji, welcome to the show. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Saab, how are you doing?
I'm all right, brother man, how are you?
We're not bad. Me and Kabir are just discussing this case in Huddersfield, Yorkshire division, Yorkshire region, where just before the weekend, it's coming to the public domain, and the media uplifting ban has happened, and everyone can speak about this case all of a sudden. We just wanted to just give us your feedback on that, Baji.
I think there's a lot of things, a lot of issues. It's like opening a can of worms, this case is, and I think it's revealing a lot about our own community as well.
Okay.
Now, what I've seen in the past few days since the case has come to light, and I'd call it an element of self-loathing, because I've seen people who have condemned this guy, Amir. I mean, people should just kind of use their own brain cells, really. When did Amir ever become a Sikh name? But people are saying, look, you know, Sikh groomers exist, Sikh rapists exist. Listen, there's bad in all community.
Definitely.
What we've seen in the past 10 years, predominantly, they've come from a particular background, which is the Pakistani Muslim community. Now, when you have sporadically a few Sikh here and there, then what we do is we amplify it, and we amplify it to such an extent that it looks as if our whole community is at it, just like the other one.
Yes.
Now, these people who are exposing this so-called Sikh, who isn't a Sikh at all, but if you do get the odd, you know, the starala, or you get, you know, some kind of abuse, domestic abuse at home or sexual abuse at home, what you'll see is that those same people who are so keen on saying, look, a Sikh groomer exists, they're Sikh themselves, these people who are putting it on social media. But when someone from the Pakistani Muslim community does it, then they're absolutely silent.
There is a lot of silence in our community when perpetrators attack us.
Kabir, the silence is deafening. Now, they're shouting from the rooftops that Granthis are at it, everybody's at it. Why aren't you then talking about the people who are absolutely at it, where to the point where somebody like Jack Straw's had to make statements about them, MPs have had to make statements about them. People are being forced to actually say, even the veil of political correctness, even that's running thin. People are just ashamed to even use political correctness. That's how rife it is in that community. And those people who are self-loathing and saying, look, we're just as bad as everybody else, well, why aren't you then vocal when it comes to the Pakistani Muslim community? And the other thing is, Deepa,
Anji.
you know, what was telling for me was, and it shows us where we are on the food chain and how important we are in the media and how we're perceived. When you get constant cases of Afghans, Somalians, Iraqis, Iranians, Pakistanis, and all they refer to is Asian, this broad term Asian, which could include anybody from the continent. But say when that soldier who was done for drugs, one of hundreds of soldiers who've been done for drugs, he was splashed on the headline of the newspapers, and his faith and his religion was the focal point.
I want to just touch on that, Saab, with you, because that is there's a narrative going out there in the public domain, and it's a Sikh hate campaign. And that's what I'm noticing. So when that guy from the army or soldier, whatever he was found guilty of, there was three other perpetrators at the same time that were convicted of the same crime. Yeah, and exactly, they were convicted, and they weren't brought to light. And those three that they named, I mean, this guy's family was brought to light, his faith, his religion, the whole shebang. But there was hundreds before him every year who failed that test. Exactly.
Year on year. I've never seen anything splashed in the newspaper. And this is another telling thing. People would say to me, and I don't joke about this, people say to me, Saab, what this shows us is that we're held in such high regard and such high esteem that when one of us does something wrong, it's headline news.
Yeah.
No, it's not headline news. We're not held in such high regard. They just have absolutely no fear of what our sentiments are. They've got no fear of what the backlash and the reaction from the Sikh community.
Exactly.
Because we are so placid, because we are so law-abiding, because we are so peaceful. I'm not saying those are bad things, but in the face of that kind of manipulation in the media, you know, we've got to be a bit more awkward. We've got to be a bit more savvy, because otherwise people will just, you know, you take the mickey out of us constantly, do you know what I mean? And it has a damaging effect on following generations, because all they're going to see is that no matter how much longer you feed, no matter how much you're helping the homeless, no matter how much you disproportionately contribute to society, no matter how much our ancestors did in the First and the Second World War, we can't put a foot wrong without being lambasted internationally. But then there's other communities who are awkward, who are demanding, who do demand beyond reason, and they get everything handed on a plate, and when they're committing crime, then they hide behind a broad Asian term. Yeah.
No, definitely. Thanks for putting your input. Is there any last message you want to give out to the Sangata, or any more feedback on this case?
I think, to be honest, like it's opened a can of worms, and I think it's very telling, more so, I mean, we know what these grooming gangs are about. I think this is more telling about our own where we're at, mentally ourselves. But also, I mean, my last message is, carry on doing what you're doing, Deepa, because it's a dark seva, but it's a much needed seva. Cleaning Bande in the Langar Hall, cleaning shoes, that's all amazing seva. But what you do is just as important as any type of seva that happens in the Gurudwara, because the seva that's happening out there on the streets, that's going to save future generations. So, you, Kabir, and the rest of the team, you've done a fantastic job. And those that lambast Sikh youth for the stuff that they do, they need to take a real hard look at themselves and realize they probably have got daughters. And at some point, they're going to need your organization. God forbid they do, but at some point they will. So, big thank you to you for what you're doing.
Now, thank you for calling in. We appreciate your time.
No,
great feedback from Saab. He's put in some great input. The Sikh hate, that's a really good point that he mentioned. It's vital right now. Saad Sangaji, as you have been seeing, some of the names that Kabir mentioned just before, there was one perpetrator, and if you look into the gang, he was 54 years old.
The oldest member of the gang.
Oldest member of the gang. Just go through the names again.
So we've got...
So the key factors and the key orchestrators in this gang and the names, if we go into that.
Key orchestrators, yeah. So you got...
Sajid Hussain, he's another one. He's another key orchestrator. He's wanted. He skipped bail and he done a runner. Now, he's wanted. So our emphasis should be on the perpetrators who are wanted by the authorities, wanted by the victims and wanted by the community, put behind bars. Sajid Hussain, he's on the run. If you see this face, please share it, put it out there. It is wanted by the whole community. It is wanted by those victims. And this guy needs to be put behind the bars. He is one of the key orchestrators of this gang, and he is a horrific man. Kabir, there was another guy who was 54 years old.
Nayaz Ahmed.
Nayaz Ahmed, 54 years old, abusing 11-year-old girls.
It's just despicable.
11 years old, and he's disgusting. 54 years old.
It's just, what can you say about that? It's good. It needs to be brought to justice, these sort of sick people in these gangs.
Definitely. And the pictures come up now. You can see.
Why wasn't he, though, highlighted by the media?
Look how old he was. This mindset that these perpetrators have to target younger. Nobody wants to tackle the perpetrators.
No, they don't.
They want to talk, and nobody wants to come at the grassroots and actually challenge them. People want an easy option.
Exactly.
Yeah, they want the easy option, they want the easy fight. Nobody wants to tackle the perpetrator. Now, this guy, Sajid Hussain, who's on the run, nickname is Fish. That's what they called him on the streets. His nickname was Fish, Sajid Hussain. He is wanted by the police. He is wanted to be put behind bars. Really important that we get his picture out there. If the gallery can put his picture back out so we can know. His nickname was Fish. He was known on the streets as Fish. His full name is Sajid Hussain. He is wanted by the police. He is convicted and he needs to be put behind bars.
I think another thing about this is how some of our people from the community can be put into bad company, bad sangat, and they can start doing...
Of course, we're on about the majority of the gang, but if your sangat's negative, if your sangat is these perpetrators, it's going to happen.
Exactly, you're going to start going into that, doing them.
They're going to convince you about their dharam, they're going to convince you about their culture, their ways of life, the way they act, their rani-bani. Just as you would come into Sikhi, you would have positive sangat, like yourself. You've come from a different background. Your sangat hasn't always been great. You've come into positive sangat, you've come into Sikhi circles. Definitely. You've kept a positive life, just like myself, just like many people out there. Sangat is important. We talk about people from the boys in our community getting caught up. Now, a lot of guys are coming from Punjab and from the European migrant community in and around Birmingham. This is what we know of and what we're hearing. And what is going on at the street is they are targeted and they are being they are getting put on drugs, on Class A drugs. And the perpetrators of these gangs are the same gangs who target young girls. And these gangs who sell drugs, they're targeting young Sikh boys as well. And they're luring them in and they're putting them on drugs, especially the migrant community. Honestly, we've had so much cases regarding alcohol and drugs on these guys, and they have been put on drugs. And while they've been put on Class A drugs and they've got control, the organisers of these gangs have got them on fully controlled, they're asking them to bring their cousin sisters with them. They're asking them to lure other girls in for them. So these guys are getting caught up within this because they're getting hooked on Class A drugs because the perpetrators are putting them on Class A drugs.
And they get blindfolded. So once they're on these Class A drugs, they'll do anything to just keep receiving their drugs.
Definitely. So we've got big issues. We are victim in this. We've got another caller. Thank you for calling into the Sikh Youth Show. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. How are you, Benji?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
What would you like to say to the Sangata regarding what we've been discussing today?
Well, I'm just really disappointed in the last month or so that all the hate that's being over social media with Sikhs, and I feel that we're being targeted as Sikhs because of our Panth and how we are so easily recognised with the things with the stars. I mean, in the last month, this in the latest effect, where this gentleman who, well, I wouldn't even call him a gentleman to be fair, who's in the star, and if he was Amritdhari or not, he's not a Sikh because we don't practice what he's just done, and they've targeted him as the leader of the pack. But the truth of the matter is, the leader of the pack is actually on the run, isn't he? He's a Muslim.
Yep.
And then obviously the soldier that was, targeted because he'd apparently taken drugs. There's no proof ever come back out on that. And the first thing that they did is they put the star thing on the front page of every paper. And now, ever since the Friday-Saturday incident, we've had things who have actually been attacked within London because of this, because they're spreading fake news on the Sikhs, and it's just hate crime. Because
of the Sikh hate that's online, you're saying because of this perpetrator has been put in the public domain that Sikhs are being targeted now on the streets?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
100%. I know of 3 cases myself.
Okay.
And I think it's really bad because at the end of the day, like, you can't brush all of us under one carpet.
No.
And the Sikhs, we do so much, and our Panth doesn't. We believe in humanity and equals, and we protect our sisters and mothers and everyone. And we don't practice this. We've never practiced it.
So Benji, at the beginning of the show, obviously you saw there was a video put out, and we put a video out there to highlight the fact when these crimes were committed between 2004 and 2011 by this so-called guy, Amir, in the headlines and in this conviction. Amir apparently was a non-Sikh in that time from 2004 to 2011 when he was not within the Sikh circles, and he was part of this gang. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they've chosen to put a picture of him with a star. Why not put the Munna picture up?
Yeah.
It's just hate towards the Sikhs. Social media, we've got so many hate groups out there.
Yeah, so you're saying there's a lot of battles online. But what's really important about your call today that's like hit home to me, to be fair, that Sikhs are being targeted now because we're putting we're as a community are sharing mail that's relating to Sikh hate.
Yeah, 100%.
No, this is ridiculous. This Sikh hate needs to stop.
Our brothers now with the stars who work in central London or around the city are not safe now because they're being attacked because there's a picture that's gone out of the star, and the first thing everybody said was a Sikh groomer, king leader.
I remember something remember when September the 11th happened, horrific attack.
And the same thing happened
and 2 days later, they pulled a Sikh man off a plane and put his picture in the public domain. After that, loads of Sikhs were attacked and murdered on the streets of America.
Yeah, and that's what we need to understand. All this news that goes out on social media and on the newspapers, it is just to target us Sikhs.
Yep.
There was 20 people, and the only one that everybody's talking about is the guy who was wearing a turban.
Not the missing guy who's actually should be behind bars and is still roaming our streets, maybe. Yeah, maybe a bit abroad. Yeah. He's on the run. He's still roaming the streets, perpetrating on young girls. Nobody wants to highlight him.
No, they want to highlight the Singh.
Or the 54-year-old man.
Yeah.
The Pakistani man, Niaz Ahmed.
Okay. Yeah, who's targeted a young girl. Benji, I want to thank you for your input today. We're coming to the end of the show, so thank you for listening and tuning in. So
thank you.
And your call. We really appreciate your input.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Kabir, we're coming to the last couple of minutes of the show. You know, there's a lot out there that we need to discuss, and you know we can't do it in a 20-minute show and a 25-minute show. What do we moving forward and some of the work?
I just want to talk about this report, really.
Okay, but this report that Sikh Youth and the SMART team have done, we're talking about historical gangs here.
That's it. And this
is a historical report, and it's an initial study. It's 90 pages. One of us spent 6 months doing this, yeah? And we've presented this to the Home Office. We presented this to the Home Office, highlighting 5 decades of Sikhs standing against grooming gangs, groomers. Now, people say that Sikhs don't condemn, I've seen this online lately, Sikhs don't condemn perpetrators. We've been condemning them, and we were the only community to condemn this for 5 decades. How can I prove that? Because we've got convictions. When some of our brothers took it to the authorities, families took it to the authorities, and they were dismissed. The authorities buried their heads in the sand like they did in Rotherham, Rochdale and Oxford before these historic reports came out and historic cases came out. Our brothers took it upon themselves to defend their families, their daughters, their sisters, and they were convicted and put into prison. And all the authorities did, what did they do? They didn't focus on the victims. They didn't focus on the victims. No. They still haven't focused on the Sikh victims in these crimes. What they focused on is community tensions.
Community tensions.
To convict Sikhs.
Yeah.
But where did it stem from? I want to ask you, the Sal Sangaji, where did it stem from? We've got evidence where it stemmed from. We've got evidence to state that cases go back to 1961 on Sikh girls, and men have been convicted and put in the public domain their names. But why did they focus on the community tensions rather than less than the victims? So we as a community need to think what we're doing and put efforts and energy into those who are trying to put the right message out there. The religiously and racially motivated targeting of Sikh girls is crucial right now. We need to highlight this. We've presented this study to the Home Office. We're going to take it to councils. We're going to put it in front of the Saad Sangat. And what we want is more input from you guys to help with that. Also, while we're discussing this report, there's a lot of time and effort went into this.
A lot of time and effort, and I think it's a phenomenal report. I think the way it's all structured, the articles, how they've been pinpointed, put in there, not only from Sikhs as well. I think it's a broad perspective. I think it's absolutely fantastic server.
No, definitely. Before we finish the show, I want to thank everyone for listening and tuning in. As you can see, there's a poster coming up now. There's a talk tomorrow evening in Leicester. Come and listen to it. The theme of the talk is called Taken. We want you to come to Leicester, the University of Leicester, Ken Edward Theatre. Make sure you're there at 6 o'clock to watch that. There's another poster coming up straight after, which has got all the list of our university talks, which we're doing right now for the freshers period to help prevent and safeguard the Sikh community and raise the issues that the Sikh community are facing. So have a look at our calendar, check your diary. There's another poster. Have a look at that. Call us, let us know what date that you want us to come to your local Gurdwara, your local school, college or university. Cabs, final words before we finish?
Yeah, just, Sangaji, please keep following us on social media, Facebook, Sikh Youth UK, Instagram as well, Twitter. We're really active on social media, and you'll get to know where our next events are. Thank you for supporting us always.
We're going to finish the show here, but we appreciate all your time, effort to supporting us and sharing the weekly Sikh Youth Show. Please carry on supporting all our great work. There's a lot more to come. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.